seeing him helpless, it's a horrible feeling because that happened to everybody who's been racially abused. You literally can't do anything. Your teammates will try and console you, but you can't. They can't feel. They can't feel the hurt inside, what Vinny's done, to the point where he's crying. He's crying. That's where he is. He's been reduced to that.
Ian Wright, former Palace, Arsenal, and Celtic man, weighed in on the recent racism we have seen from Valencia involving Real Madrid's Vinicius Jr. It is another example of too many plaguing La Liga and the sport as a whole.
Things have to be done by the authorities. There's no slogans left. There's no campaigns left. I think that when you look at what should be done, we've seen the pitiful punishments that's been peted out to federations, to clubs, to be paltry sums.
Just how awful are these sums? Per Goal.com, FIFA's disciplinary code says if a club's fans are found guilty, they'll be fined $30,000. Stadium closures, bans, points being deducted, also a possibility. In UEFA, an all-white panel decides on a ruling, though the word racism or racist remains absent, completely absent from the organization's list of finable offenses. The first offense is less than $10,000, the second nearly 19 grand.
I think that the time now, it's definitely come for, I'm not playing, I'm walking off. To walk off now and affect the money. It's the only thing that they worry about, they all worry about. We're talking about, if they do that and walk out and they don't play, broadcasters, everybody, they start worrying, because when it comes to the money, that's when they worry. That's the only thing that's not been affected, when you can stop that.
He's 1,000% right. More in a moment.
And people say, oh, you can't walk off because they're winning. Oh, they'll have won. They are winning. They are winning, and all you can do.
If you stay on.
They're winning. They are winning. Football's not going to stop racists. They're always going to be racist. But when you start point deductions, taking countries out of tournaments, they will stop. How far are the authorities willing to go to say we're serious about racism? Because they're not serious about racism.
As always, Ian Wright, who has sadly covered this topic too many times with too many footballers, spoke eloquently on the subject. There have been plenty of examples of athlete protests to affect change. The Cleveland Browns' Andrew Hawkins walked out of his team's locker room when Tamir Rice was killed by Cleveland police.
My wearing of the t-shirt was a stance against wrong individuals doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons to innocent people.
After Jacob Blake was shot in the back by Kenosha police officer Rustin Shesky, the Milwaukee Bucks withheld their labor in the NBA bubble to effect change. It followed nearly every sports league in North America halting play.
And I think that one of the interesting things about it that gets to me when you look at the conversations we have when it comes to athletes is that this is not part of their lives. It is part of their lives. Yeah. It's so directly connected to them.
There is no doubt sports, as we say, reflects the times. Protest is effective. Withholding labor, well, that's the ultimate card to play for the athletes. In December 2020, PSG and Turkish Başakşehir walked off after the fourth official was accused of racial abuse. The players would depart the pitch. Naomi Osaka withdrew her name from the Southern and Western Open after countless police shootings of black folks in the country.
It's more than a boycott. It's them withdrawing their labor and taking money out of the system and saying the games will not go on. It's not just an example for racial justice protesters around the country. I think it's a challenge to the labor movement as a whole to say, if this country is in fact non-functioning at the moment, and many of us believe this is not a functioning country, then labor has to assert itself in this battle and stand up. And that's exactly what the athletes are doing with this sports strike wave.
Look, sports can be the driving vehicle to mandate change. We have said many times over, the athletes, no matter the sport, hold the keys. They hold the power to affect change. They may not be the billionaires who cut the checks, but they run the teams. If the players withhold their labor to demand strict changes and make their voices heard, and this is the most important of all of it, in solidarity with no other players saying, you know what, these guys are out, I'm in. I'll be that bootlicker. I will go with the billionaires. I don't care about mandating better change. Then the league and teams and players as a whole simply cannot fail.
So the players are not bystanders to this process. The players are looking at this world and saying what John Carlos said in 1968 before the Olympics, which is, why should we run in Mexico City only to crawl home?